Hi, I'm Mark Wagner, President of the Educational Technology and Life Corporation in Irvine, California.
Honey, how do I make this link open in another window?
Hang on just a second. Hey, remember that target equals underscore blank trick? Use that. Thanks. Oh, gig's up. You guys saw my bathing suit. Well, truth is, I'm not wearing a suit and tie for this presentation, but on with the show. There, that's better. Well, welcome to Blog If You Love Learning. I'm going to give you an overview of the read-write web in general and what that means to you and your students, and then we'll dial into blogs in particular and how you can use those in your classroom. I'm going to give you a little how-to with edublogs.org, and then we'll look at lots of sample student and teacher blogs, and I'll give you lots of ideas how you might use those with your curriculum and your students. First though, let's head on over to the bookcase and get started. The web's been a powerful resource for educators for over 10 years. We go there for ideas, inspiration, lesson plans. We send our students there to do research, to download text, audio, video, and images, other media for their projects. But that information only moves one way, from the producer to the consumer, and it can't be edited. It's a read-only web, not in the sense that you might only read a book, but in the sense that files on your hard drive are read-only. They can't be mucked with. You can't edit them in any way. Unfortunately, that sort of media distribution model doesn't leave a lot of room for creativity. Unfortunately, that's also been the distribution model of our education system for decades, a century even. In recent years, things have changed. Where it used to be you had to have access to a printing press in order to publish a book, or more recently you had to have access to a web server and no HTML and FTP and maybe Dreamweaver and FrontPage in order to have a website. That's just not true anymore. We've been freed up from those restrictions. It's now as easy to create and share online content as it is to consume it. Anyone can publish, share, and edit content online. It's become a read-write web where you can edit things as easily as you edit read-write files on your hard drive. It's a two-way web now, what some are calling the Web 2.0. In fact, it's pretty much gotten to the point where the slogan on my t-shirt here is almost literally true. So what does this new read-write web mean for you and your students? Well, I'd like to borrow a few political examples from Hugh Hewitt, author of Blog, Understanding the Information Reformation That's Changing Your World. Because I don't think it's an exaggeration to say this is the biggest thing in giving a voice to the people since the Gutenberg press. Hewitt uses a lot of political examples. His argument is, among other things, that if this technology can affect politics, how more real can it be? Probably the first time, if you're new to this topic, that you heard of a blog was during Howard Dean's rise to presidential candidacy. Basically, his supporters and followers in a grassroots effort were able to have their views heard or read online by using primarily blogs. He was also able to raise a whole lot of money that way, and now no politician worth a bean is going to not have an online presence, usually a blog, and be able to collect money that way. At any rate, he was an unlikely candidate, but the fact that his people could publish their thoughts and be heard brought him almost legitimate candidacy for a while. Another political example that you're probably all familiar with is the issue of the falsified records of President Bush's National Guard service. In essence, these were reported by mainstream media, CBS News, Dan Rather, as being real, as it being an actual news story. And it was only over a matter of months, so we're not talking next day news here, but over a matter of months, bloggers were able to, who had better information, were able to post their views online. And it went something along the lines of that font didn't exist in those years. Yes, it did, but only on this particular machine. Well, I have one of those machines in my garage, and when I printed out the memo, it didn't look like that. At any rate, eventually the truth was able to come out, as I understand it, and the story was debunked, and arguably that was the end of Dan Rather's broadcasting career. An example that might hit a little closer to home for educators is one about Strom Thurmond's 100th birthday party. Thurmond had been a senator through a large part of the 20th century, and at his 100th birthday party a couple of years ago, then Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott made a comment, something to the effect of this country would be a better place if we had listened to Thurmond in the 50s. My understanding is Thurmond had some pretty racist policies in the 50s, and in fact, while mainstream media sort of laughed this off, hey, it's a birthday party, there were people who weren't willing to and considered digging and, in fact, sharing on their blogs examples of Trent Lott's very racist policies and actions in his own history. And arguably, this meant the end of his political career, and he stepped down as Senate Majority Leader. I saw a similar story on the local news, call it a year ago. Science teacher, red in the face, yelling at kids in the front row. How's it on the news? Kid in the back row, with his smartphone, had taken a video and actually posted it on his MySpace page, or his blog, and it wound up on the 5 o'clock news. So my first message to educators and to everybody interested in these technologies is the kids are blogging anyway. You can take advantage of it, harness it for rigorous academic purposes, show them some other constructive uses of these tools, or you can leave them to write their journals and post videos of their teachers and so forth. My argument, of course, is that these tools are going to open whole new doors for your students in terms of academic use and uses for learning. Speaking of your students exercising their online voice, by the way, if you haven't seen it, check out ratemyteacher.com. Now, if you have a rocky relationship with some of your students, this could be sobering, could be tough to take. There's some people who maybe shouldn't check out ratemyteacher.com. In my experience, though, the students are extremely insightful about what they say about teachers and administrators in their buildings. At any rate, your kids are exercising their online voice, and there's a lot of incidental learning taking place. What we want to do, of course, is harness that for intentional learning in academic context. So in order for you to have a better understanding of the read-write web, it's time to move on to talking about blogs. So blogs are one specific application in the greater set of things that you might call the read-write web, including wikis, podcasts, RSS, and lots of other things we'll talk about. Social bookmarking, social networking like MySpace. But a blog is basically an easily created, easily updated website. I'm not kidding. If you can email, you can blog. Type in a subject line, type in the body of your post, and hit post instead of send. You can even do images and attached files, or links to files, as easily as you do attachments in email. But where does the word blog come from? Let's start with that. It actually comes from the word web and the word log. Put them together, you get weblog. Truncate it, you get blog. So it's a truncated compound word. A blog is a weblog. So it's clearly some writing that's going to be on the web, and it's going to be a log format. Generally speaking, a ship's log, for instance, is going to always be in chronological order. You write an entry, you write another entry below that, and then another entry, and so on. Like a diary might be too. In fact, a lot of times blogs are used simply as journals or diaries. But in terms of the format of a blog, it's actually going to be reverse chronological order. The newest post will go at the top, and then we'll move down as you write newer posts above it until those eventually get archived when it reaches a limit of the number of posts it'll show on the first screen. This will be immediately obvious when we start getting hands-on. So how can blogs be used for educational purposes? At the very least, they can be an easily created and easily updated teacher website. And having up-to-date teacher websites has just been a challenge for the last decade or so of teacher use of the internet. We've had to teach teachers HTML, FTP, Dreamweaver and Front Page and all that. And we had to get IT departments to give them access to district web servers. It's just been a real struggle. The teacher's going to use sites with ads or not, and our teacher's going to pay for it out of their own pocket. Well, now they can sign up for a free weblog account at someplace like edublogs.org, which we're going to look at later. Instant teacher website. If you can email, you can blog. You'll be posting daily assignments, reflection questions, announcements, class policies, keeping in touch with parents that way, information about upcoming field trips, seeking volunteers from parents. In fact, most blog posts allow visitors to leave comments. So if you post a reflection question, your kids can actually post their answers as a comment. Or if you post your teacher wish list, parents can actually sign up for what they're going to bring into the classroom. It's a two-way affair between you and your students or you and your parents. In fact, ideally, it can become a class website, not just a teacher website, where students are contributing at least as much content in the comments as the teacher is in the main posts. You could certainly do a team blog where you've got more than one author, and students can actually be creating posts themselves. Now, ideally, if you get comfortable with this technology and you're comfortable with your own blog, you might want to have your students begin their own blogs. And they'll be blogging themselves with their own address and everything, and people will be commenting back to them. They can use their blog as a learning log, reflecting on the day's class, on the evening's homework, on the reading that they're doing. Will Richardson likes to say that blogging begins with reading. So you get your kids reading a textbook or reading something else online and thinking about it and reflecting on it, composing their answers, and then posting those and responding to each other's posts. Then you've really got something. I used to be an English teacher, and I used to do this. I used to do a learning log in a spiral-bound notebook where, every sponge activity in most periods, students would have a question, or they'd put reflection questions in there, and they'd read in the log. And every couple of weeks, I'd take them home, a stack like this high or higher, just for second period, and I'd have to read every 10th one and maybe leave a comment. Well, research shows that meaningful comments on students' writing is one of the greatest motivators and one of the greatest indicators of student improvement, one of the greatest factors in student improvement. But teachers just can't possibly comment as much as would benefit the kids. So if I were an English teacher now, my kids would all have their own blogs. They'd be required for each assignment to not only post a response to the assignment, but then to actually leave a comment for, say, 2 or 3 of their classmates. And this way you'd start building a learning community around the student blogs, and there'd be some peer teaching and peer-to-peer learning going on. Blogs can also be used for book clubs. So you can, for instance, organize student book clubs or student parent book clubs, and I'll show you one of those in a little bit, where students are actually able to respond to questions on a blog, and so are their parents, and the blog is a focus for that. You can use it to connect with authors and experts. I can't tell you how many examples I know of students connecting with the authors of the books that they're reading. It's happened to me in my PhD studies. It's been a phenomenal thing. It's much more motivating for me to write something and share it online for an authentic audience and an authentic purpose than it is to simply turn it into my academic advisor, for instance, and he reads it, maybe he grades it, and gives it back to me. You can certainly use blogs, sort of 21st century platform for pen pals. There's another showcase project here in Orange County where teachers used a blog to connect with students in Europe and all over the world. It's just exciting stuff because it's accessible from everywhere and people can contribute content from anywhere. Perhaps most importantly, though, it can be used for your own professional development. Reading other educators' reflective practice, reflecting on your own, composing posts and sharing those online, and hearing others' comments and reactions to the things you have to say. Being able to search online and find stuff that other teachers have written and shared, it's just a powerful resource. So we're going to show you how to become a part of that world and use these tools. Alright, it's time to get hands-on with blogs. I'm actually going to take you to edublogs.org. So it's www.edublogs.org. I'm using Firefox as my web browser. Works well in Internet Explorer on Windows. If you're on a Mac though, I recommend using Firefox instead of Safari. There's more features available. Also, if I go too fast for you or anything like that, feel free to pause and replay and refer back to this video whenever you need it. But hopefully you'll all do this along with me, or at least return to this and do it yourselves in a little bit. Now, the first time you come to edublogs.org, you'll see this site. You'll notice that it's free blogs for teachers, trainers, lecturers, librarians, and other educational professionals. You're actually going to want to scroll down the page a little bit, and on the left side here you'll see Create Your EduBlog. First thing you're going to need to do is choose a username. Now this username is going to be something that becomes part of your URL. Your URL is actually going to be username.edublogs.org. So give some thought to your username. You want it to be short and memorable, and something that you can give out to people that they'll be able to use to reach your website. You don't want any spaces or special characters in here, so if I was going to make a blog for this blog If You Love Learning presentation, I might call it Blog Love, and the name of the blog will be Blog If You Love Learning. I can't type, of course, when there's people watching on video. Now the title can have spaces, special characters, and all kinds of other things, so I'm going to put an exclamation point in there. Now pop in your email. They don't need your pop server or anything, just type your email. And hit create. Now it notes that you might need to be patient, as this might take a minute, and sure enough, it sometimes takes a while. There's even been days when edublogs.org didn't work out for me, so you might try back another time if that's the case, or consider creating your blog at wordpress.org. Alright, I've got a new blog. Your address is, in my case, bloglove, remember. That's what I put down for my username, .edublogs.org. Here's my URL. Here's the login page. You don't really need that right now because you'll be able to get to a login page from your blog later. But you definitely want to save this information. Save this page, write it down, whatever you need to do. Also notice you'll receive an email with the login details and passwords shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and check my email. Hopefully I don't have too much other email come up right now. There we are. Blog If You Love Learning. Successfully set up a blog. It assigns me a password to begin with. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. You'll also notice I got an email here from Wikispaces. You automatically get a Wikispaces account when you sign up for EduBlogs, but we'll talk about Wikispaces in a different presentation actually. So I'm going to cut and paste this password for right now, since it's sort of random and I'm not exactly going to remember it. Then I'm going to click the login link in the email. Oops, I want to open that in Firefox, so I'll go this way. You just put in your username, which for me was bloglove. Put in your password. I just cut and paste it. I'm not going to remember the password right now. Alright, you're at your dashboard here. This is a place you will control your blog. It's not what people will see when they look at your blog. Notice right here the WP-admin will tell you we're in the dashboard. Of course, all these this blue area and the fact that it says dashboard here will tell you that you're in the dashboard too. We're going to briefly work our way across each of these tabs: Write, Manage, Links, Presentation, and to a lesser degree plugins, users, and options. And we won't really get into the Yakapaka service or the forums at all, or Wikispaces at this point. But just so you have this clear in your head, this dashboard with the admin area is where you will manage your blog. What people will see, though, you can find by clicking on View Site. Now notice bloglove.edublogs.org is now the address. Here's the title of the blog. There's an automatic subtitle there, and a hello there. Used to be hello world, but a hello there post for the first post. So I'm obviously going to want to change that. Incidentally, if you ever want to get back to the admin interface, it's over here under Meta. Just click Site Admin and you're back. So to view your site from the dashboard, click View Site. To get back to your administrative dashboard, click Site Admin. Okay, so I want to write a post. I'm going to click on the Write tab. You'll notice there's a couple of sub-tabs, Write Post and Write Page. In this case, I'm just going to write a post. And remember when I said if you can email, you can blog? Well, check this out. Looks a whole heck of a lot like a web-based email form, doesn't it? Put in a title instead of a subject line, so I'm going to say, welcome to blog if you love learning. And in the post, you type the subject or body of your message. In this case, I'm going to say something like, I am writing this as I record my presentation for the K-12 online conference. I hope you all enjoy it. Great. Now I can say publish instead of send. And sure enough, my post has been saved. Notice a yellow alert. I can view site again, or I can always view site up here. I'm going to go ahead and view it. There you go. There's my brand new post. Welcome to Blog If You Love Learning. I'm writing this as I record my presentation for the K-12 online conference. I hope you all enjoy it. Okay, now that you've got your first post up, it's time to see the two-way nature of the blog you've just created. What you'll notice right now is that just beneath the new post it says no comments. Well, if you click on there, any visitor can actually leave a comment. Notice I'm actually logged in right now, so this might be a little bit different for a visitor. In fact, I'll log out and show you what that'll look like. Okay, so a random visitor comes to your site and wants to leave a comment on your new post. By default, this is going to require their name, their email address, which is really great if you want to get back in touch with somebody who left you a comment, and if they have one, their website. Now they can leave a comment. So I'm writing this all as I record my presentation and so forth. So I can leave a comment and say, Mark, I'm sure you'll do great. I'm looking forward to your presentation. Are you really going to wear your red bathing suit on camera? And submit the comment. Now you'll see you've got your post and one response to that post. If you were another visitor, or yourself in fact, you could then leave yet another reply either to the comment or to the initial post. The way this looks on the home page of your blog, though, is a little bit different. You'll see your new post, the original hello there post, but you see that your new post has one comment. Now if we click through, we see the response, which again is right below the new post. So as soon as you can post a new post as easily as emailing, any visitor can leave you a response equally as easily by simply filling in this form here and clicking Submit Comment. Okay, before we go any further, I want to show you some of the other features you have available when you're writing a blog post. So once again, here's my blog. I want to log in or administer the blog, and I come down to the meta section and I don't see site admin. That's because I'm not logged in, but I do see login. So I click on login. I put in my username, which is bloglove in this case. Remember, my username is also part of my URL. And I put in my password again and I log in. Back to the dashboard, but I want to write a new post, so I'm going to click on the Write tab again, and here again is that nice simple Write Post interface with the title, the post, and the Publish button. So I'm going to show you how to attach a picture and a file. So I'm going to write a post about me and my funny hat. So this image was my profile image on blogger.com for a long time. So again, here's the title of the post, kind of like the subject line of an email. Here's the body of the post, kind of like the body of an email. I could hit publish to publish it straight away, but I want to add that image. So just like doing an attachment on an email, I can upload an image or another file this way. So I'm going to say browse to browse my hard drive. I'm going to go into my pictures folder in this case, and let's see, me.jpg. There's my funny hat. Alright, I could give this this picture a title and a description if I like, and then upload. The way it works is it's going to appear down here in this browse section, and I actually have to, unlike an attachment in an email, I need to drag this up into the message where I would like it to appear. In this case, I want it to appear at the beginning. I can actually click on it, and just like in a Word document, I can move it around and change the alignment by clicking on this image icon right here with a tree on it. And I'm going to set the alignment to, say, the right. Update. Looks good, kind of a newspaper format. I can even upload files like Excel documents, Word documents, PowerPoint documents, PDFs, files you might want to share with your students, for instance. I come back down to the upload area, I browse, I can find, let's say, this rich text document. Let's see if it lets me upload that. It's an outline of this presentation. Oh, some files, like text files, it doesn't allow you to upload because that can contain malicious code that might harm a website. So I'm going to have to choose something else. Normally, though, you're going to do your work in, say, Microsoft Word. I'm going to update or upload a agenda from a recent training I did on iPhoto. This might be your syllabus, might be class procedures, might be a weekly homework assignment, a vocabulary list. Anything you've got in Word, you can now upload to your blog. So I'm going to place this here. Notice I'm dragging it from the browse area up to the body of the post where I want the link to be. Now I can publish the post. Now, about as easy as, oh, by the way, I'm viewing the site is what I just did. About as easy as creating an attachment for an email. I've added an image to my new post, me and my funny hat, and I've also added a link to a Word document. If I click on that, I have an opportunity to save it to the disk, just as your students would. And you could then open the document and see the agenda or the vocabulary list or whatever it happens to be. Let's talk about some of the other options you have when you're using EduBlogs. Sorry about that. So again, here's my blog. I'm going to come down to Meta. I'm already logged in, so I can click on Site Admin. I'm going to go back in the right tab for a minute. When you're writing a post, there's a couple other options I always like to share with people. One is that you can password protect a post simply by typing a password in here. It'd be real easy to use the same password all year long. Give it to the parents and your students at the beginning of the year at back to school night or whatever the case might be. Might even make it something as simple as parents or room 3 parents or something like that. And whenever you need to post something sensitive, you can do that. Another one that's worth pointing out is categories. It's very easy to create categories such as maybe a science category, a math category, English, or language arts, I guess it could be, and math, social studies, that's what I'm missing. Or if you're in secondary schools, it could be period 1, period 2, and so forth. It's very easy then, when you're writing a new post, let's just say this is period 1 homework number 12. I can come down here and say do problems numbers 1 to 1,000 odd, read chapters 4 through 44. Now I can click on period 1 here and publish the post to the period 1 category. The way that looks after you've posted something in a category is like this. You'll see the new post, you'll see that it's posted in period 1, and this front page is sort of a river of news, it's sometimes called, where you've got all of the posts regardless of their category. However, if we come over here on the right hand column under categories and we click on a specific one like period 1, we see just the posts from the period 1 category. This might be an easy way to organize your posts for your students. They'll quickly learn to come in and click right on the category that's important, whether it's period 1 or math games or whatever the case might be. Other writing options besides the password protecting and the categories include the post timestamp. You can actually future date a post if you'd like it to appear on a particular day. So you might, on a Sunday night, for instance, set up all the homework for the week and future date the posts so that they only show up on the days of the assignments. Or so that your posts appear over Christmas vacation or summer break or whatever the case might be. Back in the dashboard, before we move on, let's return to the right tab. There's these options and more that I've been going over in terms of writing a post. But I wanted to point out that there's another sub-tab here called Write Page. Now a post is going to behave the way I described initially, where the newest post is going to go at the top and they'll continue to move down with the newer ones coming in at the top until they get archived. But writing a page is going to allow you to create a relatively static page. This is where you might have your class expectations or rules or a welcome page or an about page or a bio for yourself. And what will happen when you input your class expectations and we create the new page, again, as easy as emailing. Now if we view the site, you'll notice we've got some pages over here. We've got an about page which comes automatically, and we've got class expectations. Now what if you want to edit some of these posts or pages? That's pretty simple. Again, we go down to Site Admin. We're back in the dashboard. And instead of Write, where we would write posts and write pages, we're going to click on Manage, where we can manage posts and manage pages, in addition to a couple of other things. So in terms of managing posts, here you can see all the posts I've written so far, including the one that comes with a new blog at EduBlogs. So I'm going to actually go through and delete that post. You'll see how that behaves. Gives you an opportunity to cancel this, but I'm going to say OK. Turns red for a moment and disappears. Now if I want to edit a post, like say homework number 12, I can click on Edit, and I get right back to this familiar interface here. Alternatively, you can view a post directly from here as well. If I manage pages, it's very much the same. I can come in and delete the About page that comes with it. Although this is something you might actually want to just edit and put in your own information, because the About page is something you probably want to have. And I can come in and edit my class expectations. Again, in this familiar interface. You can also manage categories. So here's the categories I created before. I can edit or delete them here, and I can add new categories. There we go. You can also manage comments here. I'll click on comments, and you can see the one comment I left for myself earlier. It's easy enough to delete a comment, particularly if it includes anything inappropriate. You can also edit a comment. Perhaps it's only got a small bit that's inappropriate, or there's an error or something like that, and you want to be kind to the poster and fix that. And you can view the original post from here. There's some other comment options later under options. If you're using comment moderation, which we'll talk about under options, any comments that are awaiting moderation before appearing on your site will appear here as well. I'm not going to touch on refers or subscriptions right now, but you can get into those options when you're ready. The next section we're going to look at is links. If you want to add a link to your site that's going to always be in the side column rather than in a post that moves down the page and eventually gets archived, you would do that here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If we view the site, you can see the blog role here, which is, generally speaking, a list of links to blogs that the person who writes this site reads. So by default, you're going to have a link to BlogSavvy, Chalkface, and InkSub. Now you're probably going to want to change these to links that are relevant to your students and your curriculum. So again, you want to go into Site Admin and Links, and we can delete the default links. And we can add a new link using this tab here. You put in the URL. In this case, I'll just put in my main blog at edtechlife.com. Type in what you want the link to say, maybe a short description, and you assign it to a category. In this case, we only have one category, the blog role. And click Add Link. Now, if we view my site, you'll see that I have a new link for educational technology and life. It still says blog role though, and you may want to change this or add additional categories. So in Site Admin, under Links, you can manage link categories. So we've got blog role here. I might want to edit that. In fact, we might call it resources. And you could post all sorts of resources for your students. You can also add a new category. Perhaps educational games. Now a category is not going to appear until there's a link in it, so let's add a link. FunBrain's a good educational game site for young students. Oops, did anybody catch that? I actually put that link in the wrong category, so I'm going to go Manage Links. Notice it's in Resources. FunBrain.com is in Resources. I can say Edit, and I can switch it to Educational Games. Great. Now if I view my site, I've got headline for educational games, and there's FunBrain, and I've got resources, educational technology and life. So you could build a pretty great selection of links and resources for your students on this side column. Now what if we want to change the look and feel of our blog? That's actually pretty easy in EduBlogs also. Actually, they make it very easy for you. I'm going to scroll back down to Site Admin. Once I'm back in the dashboard, I'm going to go to the Presentation tab. And there's a bunch of themes loaded for us. Some of them might look familiar to you from other educational bloggers' sites. So you simply pick one that looks interesting to you. Let's see, how about connections? You'll see that that becomes a current theme. You can view the site, and sure enough, the site's got an entirely new look. Title is moved around. You might see comment features moved around. Now it has the category and the comment up at the top of the post. Links have moved around. In some themes you won't have all the features. So for instance, all my links are together now rather than in the two categories I made for them before, resources and educational games. However, in this one, unlike the other one, my descriptions show up for my links. So you'll need to find something that not only looks the way you like, but works the way you like. Again, you're going to go into your site admin, which may be difficult to find on some themes. Go into presentation and find one that looks good to you. Personally, I like the default Kubrick theme, so I'm going to go back to that. There we go. Back on the dashboard once again, I'm going to move on to the next tab. Actually, I'm going to skip plugins. There's only a couple of plugins at Edublogs, and you can play with those if you like, sort of an advanced feature. But there's some stuff we need to see under the Users tab. You'll notice there's two sub-tabs, Your Profile and then Authors and Users. Under Your Profile, you can change all sorts of information about yourself. You can add your first and last name and a nickname and decide how it's going to be publicly displayed. For instance, I might put Mark and Wagner and Mr. Wagner. And after I save that, at the bottom of the page, I'll now have the option of choosing Mr. Wagner, or any other variation on my name here, as the way my name will be publicly displayed. I no longer have to be Bloglove. In fact, in retrospect, I probably should have done BlogLearn or something. Anyway, you can change your contact info, including your email, and you'll get notifications of comments emailed to you and comments awaiting moderation. You can put in your IM accounts if you have them. You can share a little biographical information about yourself. And most importantly, you can update your password. So instead of that crazy one that Edublogs gave you by default, you can type in one you'll be much more likely to remember on your own and update your profile. And you're all set. Under Authors and Users, you also have the option of adding other users to your blog so that they can create posts in addition to leaving comments. Normally any visitor can leave a comment, but if you add an author to your blog, they'll be able to leave posts as well. Generally speaking, you will give them a role below administrator so that they can't muck with all the features of your blog, but authors or editors can then contribute posts to the site as well as edit their own posts. It might be useful to add other authors and users to your blog if you're using it in a team situation and you want a team blog. For instance, a grade level team or a subject area team in a secondary school, professional learning community teams, or even student teams, of course. One of the nice things about this is it spreads the responsibility for updating content on the blog around to all the members of the team. So not one person is responsible for all of the posts. Also then, anybody on the team can generate an initial post to which others can leave comments. The last section we have to cover on the dashboard is your options. If you click on options, you'll once again see several sub-tabs: general, writing, reading, discussion, and so on. Under the general tab, you can change your blog title, you can add a tagline. There's some other options as well. You might want to adjust the time zone of your blog. I think I should be at -7. And so on. And you can update the options. Under the writing options, most of these you're not going to want to worry about. You might change the default post category though. Perhaps the default will be social studies or period 1. And the reading options might be interesting to you. This is where you can change the number of posts shown on your front page. Right now it's 10. If you have short posts, you might want this number to be high. If you have long posts, you might want this number to be low. If you like, you can base it on the number of days that they will remain on, so that something will always remain on your front page for at least 10 days. Of course, you better have consistent updates if you use this, because after those 10 days go by, unfortunately you might have a small amount of content, if any, on your front page. Also, you can control how many items are in your RSS feed, which, if you don't know anything about that right now, don't worry about it, but as you get more advanced and you get interested in having people subscribe to your blog so that the updates come to them instead of them having to come to your blog, you can determine how many updates they receive. Now, the discussion options are probably the most interesting to teachers. I always leave these first three checkboxes checked because this is really what makes you part of the community of the Read Write Web. This is where it gets interesting. Email me whenever anyone posts a comment or a comment is held for moderation. I always have these checked and recommend that teachers leave them checked, even if it's a little bit high traffic in their email box. But basically, if anybody leaves a post on your class page or your teacher page or whatever you're using this page for, you're going to get that comment in your email box right away. So as soon as you check your email, you can actually decide whether or not you want to keep that comment or delete it. Same is true if you're using moderation, which we'll talk about just now. Before a comment appears, these are the options that teachers are most interested in. By default, it's checked comment author must fill out name and email. I like this one because it's always good to be able to get back to people who leave a comment. Now, if they lie and make stuff up, put a bogus email, nothing you can do about that, but you probably want to delete that comment anyway, if it's inappropriate. But if anybody's leaving a legitimate comment on your site, it's nice to be able to get back to them and attribute things to them. However, it may be that you don't want any visitor to your site to be able to comment. You may be concerned about your students' behavior with comments, that they might leave something inappropriate, or even that visitors might leave something inappropriate for your students to see. In that case, you can actually say that an administrator must approve the comment. In this case, the comment will go into moderation, a sort of purgatory, until you approve it, or delete it, or suggest that it's spam. And this way, users won't actually see their comment appear as soon as they comment on your page. So it does have its downside. It restricts the community a little bit. I always advocate being as open as you're comfortable with. In my case, I would just have comment author must fill out the name and email. However, a lot of teachers want to approve the comments before they show up. If you get an active community around the blog, that's going to be a lot of work though. One thing that might work out well for you is to do this bottom box. Comment author must have a previously approved comment. That way you approve each student once, you approve each parent once, you approve each random visitor who leaves a constructive comment once, and they're good to go in the future. You can always delete anything inappropriate that shows up after the fact, but you're not going to have to approve every comment now. So those are your three choices, sort of in order of most open to most control. You could have comment author must fill out name and email, which is what I advocate if you're comfortable with it. Or comment author must have a previously approved comment, which means each person can comment as much as they like once you approve them. Or an administrator must approve the comment regardless of any of the matches below, in which case you're going to have to approve every solitary comment that comes towards your blog. Which, if you're concerned about comments and the read-write nature of this and the two-way nature of this, that might not be a bad place to start. And as you learn to trust your students and the others who are commenting on your blogs, you might remove that. You can also add common words that you want to filter out here to keep things or force comments into moderation. WordPress or EduBlogs in this case will force a comment into moderation if it has more than 2 links. Unfortunately, there's such a thing as comment spam, same as you get spam in your email box. So you'll get comments that want you to buy drugs from Canada or buy Viagra or get a new mortgage for your house. Finally, there's the comment blacklist, in which you can put words that if they appear in the comment, it will be, as it says here, completely nuked, and you'll never even know about it. So I've seen teachers just start typing in every curse word they know here and using it that way. I haven't had a problem with that so much, but I'm very, very happy for the spam blocking features that EduBlogs has here. So again, options, discussion is where you're going to deal with the way comments behave. Well, it's time to start showing you some examples of student and teacher blogs. So I'll start with Eva's. I was hoping to interview her tonight, but unfortunately she's got tired and gone to bed, and this is my project, so I'm just going to give you a walkthrough to some of her sites. She uses blogs in a lot of the ways I mentioned at her K2 site, where she's a kindergarten teacher and the tech coordinator. So woodlandroom3.blogspot.com. She uses Blogspot. It's another free service at blogger.com. So this is her class blog. So she has posts primarily for her parents here because she's a kindergarten teacher, but you can get some sense of how she uses it. Here you see her learning log for October that she posted in late September there. You can see that she's got links that she updates every week to the weekly share, to the weekly homework, the weekly learning log, and the site feed. She has permanent links in her right-hand column, just like I showed you guys how to do in EduBlogs. So she's got sites for primary students, games for her students, and so forth, family tech time, some math stuff, and so on. So she's used this for all sorts of things. You can see some previous posts here, learning log for October, back to school night posts about the PFO, kindergarten orientation, a welcome to Woodland post. It's pretty much the beginning of the year right now, but you can see some of her end of the year posts there too. A post about summertime and a learning log for June, and thank yous to the parents who got her nice gifts at the end of the year, that sort of thing. She's used it for sign-ups for Thanksgiving. I think if we can hit the archives back in November, we might be able to find something like that. Thanksgiving feast, there we are. Join us to reenact the Thanksgiving. Parents left comments to say what they were going to bring. Obviously she's used it for her teacher wish list. I always point that one out too. So she wants glue sticks and colored paper and colored cardstock and that sort of thing, so parents know what to get her. So basically this is her use of a blog as a teacher website or a class website. Pretty straightforward, but again, it's two ways. She's communicating with parents. In fact, there was one post 2 summers ago that she's since deleted, but she put a post up that said that she and I went to Disneyland over the summer, and some of her recent kindergarten graduates actually posted back about it. They were still looking at the blog in the summer. One of them said how much he loved Disneyland, the other one said he went to Utah for vacation. Another one of Eva's blogs is woodlandtechteam.blogspot.com. Not the shortest URL out there, but she uses this with her tech team at school and actually with all of the staff for their professional learning communities that they do with technology. So here you'll see she's got some information up for the October PLC meetings. A little post notifying people to switch to Firefox. Funding opportunities, different grants that are available that her staff can take advantage of. Over the summer she posted a little bit about NECC when we all went there in San Diego a few months ago. So this is a way that she can actually communicate with the other teachers on her staff. They can leave comments. In fact, she's got a post that she uses for work orders. Basically the teachers leave comments there, and she and her tech team know to take care of the different issues on the campus. So this is used for a wide variety of reasons, but it's definitely a team blog. She and her team can post here. Anybody on the staff can leave comments. It's not necessarily for kids or for parents, but it's a communication tool for the teachers on that site. In fact, I think she's got this set as the home page for her site, so that whenever she posts an update, everybody there is sure to see it as soon as they open the browser. Another blog that Eva uses that's actually for students, and yes, kindergarten students, believe it or not, is techcenters.blogspot.com. Like a lot of elementary student or teachers, she of course has centers in her classroom. One of her centers is her computer center. As soon as the kids sit down at the computer center, they come to this post that's always the top post on the page, and they can click on the kindergarten link, or her first and second grade students in the other classes can click on the first and second grade links. But notice the kids don't necessarily have to be able to read here in kindergarten. They know that this is their picture that they click on. And then they know they can click on the reading centers, the math centers, science centers, That's the symbol on all their science materials, of course, and the games. So she actually just used pictures with hot links, which you can do in EduBlogs too by inserting pictures the way I showed you. She uses pictures then for the kids to click on those and find the games that they're going to play, again indicated by pictures. So even very, very young students can functionally use blogs, at least as visitors, and a teacher can use blog to publish simple web pages like this that would have taken a lot more technical skill in the past. The last example of Eva's I'm going to show you is one called gamesforkids.blogspot.com, and it's very similar. But the idea is students come here. There are kindergarten games, first grade games, second grade games, and again, it's largely picture driven for the younger students. So they can come in and go to Dude's Dilemma and they recognize the picture, or they can come into Maggie's Earth Adventure and again they recognize the picture, and they can click through to the game itself and begin to play online. So what about other examples of teacher and student blogs at other levels of education? Best place I know to find that is supportblogging.com. And this is a site put together by Steve Hargadon, and all sorts of people in the educational blogging sphere have contributed to it. It's a wiki, which is a web page that anyone can edit. Notice the edit this page button. I'll be talking more about wikis in my next session, Wiki While You Work. So I hope you guys will tune into that as well. At supportblogging.com, there's all kinds of information for people getting started in blogs and for people who've been around the edu-blogosphere for some time. There's a bit on what is educational blogging, lots of links about the difference between edu-blogs and social networking like MySpace, how to get started, best practices, additional resources, but what I'm interested in right now is student and teacher blogs here on the left-hand side. So if I click on that, we've got a whole list of links to student blogs, all different grade levels, 3rd grade, pre-calculus, 7th grade math, you name it. There's year 6 and 7 students in here, high school literature classes in here, and below that there's teacher blogs, teachers from all different levels and different parts of the world as well, and a couple of administrator blogs even. So just to give you an idea what we have to find in here, you can click on room12.com and you can see some 3rd grade blogs. You see they've got a podcast up too, which is internet radio or TV show in essence. And you can click through to individual 3rd grade bloggers, and here's one of them writing about his Game Boy and another post about his life. So I'm not sure what the assignments were here, but you can see that all of these students in room 12 have their own blog right here on Blogmeister, a system hosted by opening keynote speaker David Warlick. You can also come through to an AP Calculus blog, for instance, and see some of the work that our organizer Darren's students have done there. These are mostly end of the year notes here. However, if we go through to one of his new classes, you can see how much his students are writing. And the way it works in his class is that each day a different student is responsible for being the scribe and posting that class notes to the web. And they make great use of visuals and different colors and getting the notes online so that even students who aren't in class can see the notes, and they're collected for everybody. And the responsibility is spread out throughout the rest of the class. It's a really great model. I enjoy going through and looking at the literature classes. This class is called In Need of Coffee. This blog is called In Need of Coffee. And you can see again a bunch of reflections on the end of their year, but you can see previous posts and their archives for their entire year. I also encourage you to check out, there goes expose, encourage you to check out the teacher blogs. There's many good ones here. And to check out some of the administrator blogs. You might be impressed by what some of these people are saying. Now, beyond sources like this where people have already collected blogs for you. Other ways you can use to find blogs relevant to education or relevant to your curriculum are to search for them. Simple way is to go to Google. I used to be an English literature teacher, so I could put English literature and simply add blog to the search terms. And here we go, English literature blogs. Let's just see what happens. Alright, here's people interested in English literature, so this might be useful to me. Oh, and these are all blog titles. That's great. So any one of these blogs might be useful to me. You could also use a specific blog searching tool. In fact, Google has one at blogsearch.google.com. And now if we search in here, our results are going to be limited simply to blogs. So here we have English Literature 12, several other English literature blogs, and various posts from other blogs that might be related to what we're looking for. All depends on our search terms, of course. A dedicated blog search engine can also be found at technorati.com. And Technorati tracks as many blogs as they can in the blogosphere, if you will, and they track popular trends and make it easy to keep track of specific topics that people are blogging about. In this case, if I were interested in English literature, I could search for that, and I would find recent posts about English literature. Here's one that says, "Welcome to English for AP." That's likely to be relevant to me. Now, I don't know about the lesbian story and the cannabis and Jesus Christ, but you know, as with any search, you're going to have to apply your information literacy skills. But Technorati can help you find other blogs, and once you find a blog that might be useful to you, like this "Welcome to AP English," for instance, you may in fact find links to still more blogs that might help you out if they've been kind enough to leave a blog roll for you. So we've gotten through the hands-on how to use a blog. We've looked at examples of teacher and student blogs, and you can certainly explore a good deal more on your own. But I want to summarize some of the benefits of using blogs in education and then talk about some of the concerns before we wrap up. Probably the most important, or most obvious benefit rather, is that of engagement and motivation. Our students who are digital natives use these tools already. They're comfortable with them, they're excited by them. They're certainly interactive and responsive educational vehicles. They're personalized to a large degree, particularly if the students have their own blogs. And they're appeal to multiple learning styles. You can include all sorts of different media and appeal to different modalities as well. It's sort of the ultimate in differentiated instruction. Another major benefit to using blogs in education is that they provide a context for learning. Students access, process, and create actual products for an authentic audience and often an authentic purpose. They get comments back from their peers and experts, and they can leave comments for others that will actually be read and be meaningful to the others. It's all about the content and communication, not the technology. Blogs also facilitate the inquiry process. Students discover, explore, and contribute to topics that interest them. They solve authentic problems. It's individualized and it's empowering. Blogs also offer a framework for collaboration. Students are able to connect with peers and experts and practice interpersonal skills online. They're using tools of the 21st century workplace, and it's results oriented. Perhaps most importantly, blogs also encourage reflection. Students consume, consider, and compose online, and I've heard it said, or I've read at least, that writing is learning. I would suggest that so is creating and editing other media. Certainly, multimedia added to blog posts such as images and perhaps other files such as audio files and video that create podcasts. Basically, as they create, compose, edit, process feedback, students are learning about their own metacognition, particularly as they reflect on their learning, reflect on their class reading, reflect on their year, reflect on their blogging. This is powerful stuff, and the feedback certainly helps. Despite these benefits, I understand that this new technology can be confusing, as teachers lose control of the content of their class because students now can post what they want to post and can search for things online that they want to learn about. It can all be a little disorienting. Well, let's talk a few minutes about the concerns then, before we move on. The first and most obvious concern is the need for information literacy skills. Students are going to have to be able to evaluate the relevance of information that they come across online, particularly with the explosion of blogs and the amount of new content generated by, well, anybody. They're going to have to be able to evaluate the source, identify any agenda or bias behind it, and learn to check their facts against multiple sources. Ultimately, it's a matter of finding trusted sources for information online. However, what more teachers are concerned about is inappropriate content, offensive, sexual, or violent content that students might come across online. We're certainly bound by federal law and by our own duty to our students to protect them from this content. And we must show due diligence in doing this, but it's increasingly difficult to filter with the rise of tools like blogs that make it easier for anybody to publish online. So we've got to develop appropriate responses to the inevitable, and how to turn the potentially ugly moment into a teachable moment. What you may not have realized is that students can now be responsible for the very inappropriate content we're meant to be protecting them from. Students can post inappropriately, unsafely, irresponsibly, provocatively. They can share illicit or illegal behavior online, something they might not think about the consequences when they're posting. We always like to encourage students to think about what future employers or spouses might think if they find the content they're posting online. Incidentally, it's good for students to be able to post under a pseudonym or initials or first name only or something like that if at all possible. I also, and this is a bit of a digression, but always recommend getting parent permission before using blogs with students. There's some sample blog letters home that you can use as well. At any rate, students are going to post outside of school, so we might as well talk to them about these tools in school and talk to them about responsible use of these tools. Certainly, with this new power for anyone to publish comes a great deal of responsibility, and we've got to deal with that. As peer-to-peer networks taught us, intellectual property is a concern too, when it's so easy to cut and paste and repost anything you find online. Copyright's going to be an issue. Academic honesty is going to be an issue. It's going to be something you want to talk to your students about. That and copyright law. Introduce them to alternatives such as Creative Commons at creativecommons.org. So your students might be responsible for criminal behavior when it comes to intellectual property, but what about criminals who take advantage of your students online? Fraud and identity theft are increasing issues even for students. Students may put their families and friends at risk, and they too may be at risk even of identity theft, at least when it comes to usernames and passwords. We've got to teach them how to recognize fraud online and how to be safe in terms of the information that they give out or that they believe online. The biggest concern, of course, the one that gets the most media play, is the threat of stalkers and predators. It's the most serious consequence of inappropriate sharing online by our students. And predators do hunt children through online social networks and even sites such as blogs. I've got a whole nother talk that goes into the intricacies of this, and I think almost anybody involved with this conference will tell you that the risk is low, and that the benefits certainly make these tools worth using anyway. But there's no reason to go in with our eyes closed, and we do need to talk to our students about not sharing personal information online. At the very least, name, address, contact information. They shouldn't be sharing online. They certainly shouldn't be sharing with anybody that they don't know that they've met online. Now, there is another perspective to what students are sharing online, because sometimes what they share helps us to avert tragedies such as suicides or other violent crimes like school shootings. There's a whole sense of citizen journalism at work now that anyone can be a publisher, and citizen police work too. Threats, suicides, and risky behavior are often reported when students post about them online. Usually it's social networking sites like MySpace, but potentially on a blog as well. Sting operations actually do catch criminals, and ultimately, MySpace is safer for our students than for predators. And blogging, especially educational blogging, is absolutely safer for the students than anybody who might come preying on them. Now, on the flip side, there's also this idea of free speech concerns. You know, if we're concerned about all the things that might go wrong with students using the web, we got to remember that whether or not we're using it in school, students' free speech rights are protected in a lot of states. They are in California. Parity is protected. We can't control students, but we can educate them. Now, I'm sure I could go on about the concerns for another hour, but I want to share a few more things with you guys before we wrap it up here. Back to the bookshelf. After all this talk about two-way technologies and neat online tools, there's actually quite a few old-fashioned books that can help you learn how to use these tools and understand the philosophy and ethics behind them. One of the first that I saw in a regular bookstore was actually this one, Hugh Hewitt's blog, Understanding the Information Reformation That's Changing Our World. And you may recognize Hewitt's name. He's certainly known for his conservative views, and they come across in the book a lot of political examples, but he definitely hits the nail on the head in terms of why an organization needs to have a blogging policy and what it means that every employee and every student could be blogging. More educational examples are available, of course. One of these is Will Richardson's blogs, wikis, podcasts, and other powerful web tools for classrooms. I highly recommend this. Lots of great stuff about the philosophy and ethics, pedagogy behind these, and some how-to guides as well. Another comes from our opening keynote speaker, David Warlick. His classroom blogging, Teacher's Guide to the Blogosphere, I can also heartily recommend. Definitely good for a beginner if you're watching this. Another one you might move on to, though, after that, and I think this is really good brain food, is Raw Materials for the Mind. You'll notice the subtitle is RSS, blogging, social software, wikis, and more new technologies that mean something for educators. This thing definitely opened doors for me a couple of summers ago when I first read it. If you're concerned about, well, the concerns, you might check out books like this, MySpace Unraveled, A Parent's Guide to Teen Social Networking, from the directors of blogsafety.com. This really gives you an idea of what teens are doing when they're socializing online, and also some technical tips how to protect them and how to start your own MySpace page. I think it's just as good for educators as it is for parents. There's other similar books like this, MySpace Safety, 51 Tips for Educators and Parents, that I can also recommend. Well, thank you for joining me for Blog If You Love Learning here at the K-12 Online Conference. Please visit the wiki I created to support this presentation at blogifyoulovelearning.wikispaces.com. That's blogifyoulovelearning.wikispaces.com. It's long, but you'll remember it. Hope to hear from some of you and to see what you do with your students and your curriculum and your new blogs. Hope you'll feel free to email me at mark@edtechlife.com if you have any questions or if you want to talk about blogs and learning. Thanks again. It's been a thrill to present to you online.